Peace, peace, peace. Peace, family, peace. Peace to Leo, ladies. Shout out to the family coming into the building. Another night on this Memorial Day. Shout out to the family. Peace, God. Peace. Peace to my brother. Peace to my brother. Shout out to all the family coming into the building. How's all the family doing on this Memorial Day weekend or weekday, or today is the actual day of Memorial Day? That's something we want to talk about again today. Shout out to Miss Anderson. Always, God, always. Always, guys. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Yes, we in the building. Where's all the family listening from tonight? Where's all the family on this Memorial Day? Where's all the family on this Memorial Day? Shout out to Miss Kiss, Mr. Wright. Shout out to all the family. Shout out to all the family. Man, y'all been showing a hella love and support with my books and things of that nature. I really appreciate that, family. We working day and night trying to get all the books shipped out to you. So, I really appreciate all the love and support. All the love and support. Shout out to Australia. You got somebody listening from Australia. So shout out to the family over there in Australia. We need y'all to rise up and take that land back over there. You see what I'm saying? We working over here. Shout out to New Orleans. Shout out to Indiana. The greater Houston area. Shout out to Miss Ella. Shout out to all the family. Shout out to all the family. Before we get into this live, I want to say, today is Memorial Day, and we want to take time to honor all of our fallen soldiers in the African community, because we know oftentimes our efforts to defend this country, our efforts to fight for this country, to keep this country together, has gone in vain because we have not received that same attention on the back end. You see what I'm saying, family? We have not received that same attention. We have fought in every war in this country, from the Revolutionary War to the Vietnam War to the World War I, II, and goddamn even the World War IIIs and the ones that are coming about. You see what I'm saying? We have fought in every war. The war in Iraq, every war, but yet we still get treated like second-class citizens. And that's something that, is unfortunate, but that's something we're about to get rid of real soon. As you can see, the descendants of these ancestors are telling everybody else to hold their own nuts from now on. Shout out to Miss Jazz J. She said, "This is my first live." Peace, Queen. Hope you enjoy it. I do a lot of lives, but, Instagram, they halt my following. So a lot of people that show it to a lot of people, but that we got that solved. From now on, we just going to take the live and put it on YouTube. So this live will be on YouTube right after, I get off of here. That way we're not worried about all the BS, people who can't see it and they're blocking the following. So we're going to put this live on YouTube afterwards. You dig? So make sure you click that link in my bio and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you do that. Yeah, all of our fallen soldiers, from soldiers like Henry Johnson. These are soldiers who received a Purple Heart in the wars, who saved thousands of Europeans with a swipe of their sword or a bullet that they fired from their gun. You see what I'm saying? To brothers like Christian Fleetwood, even queens like Harriet Tubman. A lot of people forget Harriet Tubman was in the army. Harriet Tubman was one of the best spies for the Union during the Civil War. A lot of people forget about that. They just, portray Harriet Tubman as the Underground Railroad lady. But she was one of the greatest spies for the Union. She was giving away key intel about Confederate bases because she knew the South. You see what I'm saying? She was in those neck of the woods. But they never give credit to her. Harriet Tubman, the Queen Mother, she had to fight for her pension. The Union wouldn't even give her pension for fighting in the army. You see what I'm saying? She had to fight till she was 80, 90 to finally get her check from the army. This is the disrespect that they show us. We had a brother, and this is not something that's old, because you have a lot of Negroes who like to run around here talking about, man, that's old, that's in the past. You always bringing up the past. Listen, we had a brother just, about 2 years ago. What was that brother's name? Bradford. It was something Bradford. Emantic Bradford. My Alabama people know. A brother who was shot in Hoover. A brother who had just got what do they call it when you're in the army and you get to come home? I forgot what they call it, but he was home for Christmas. A brother started shooting in the mall. He pulled out his gun trying to defend the crowd and get people away, and the cops came in and shot him. Shot and killed that brother. Military brother. He was only 21. Bradford Jr. Emantic Bradford Jr., I believe his name was. And that cop is free now. They didn't charge the cop or anything. So we always get disrespect. We always get treated like second-class citizens when we come home. This is why the ancestors like Muhammad Ali said, I'm not going over there to fight in no war when you won't even fight for me here. That was a powerful line. And I keep that same energy of the ancestor. Yeah, it's so many, and I understand it's so many cases. Like everybody's talking about our brother Ahmaud Arbery. May he rest in power. But it was so many more cases just within that time period. I remember last year with the Botham Jean situation. When Botham Jean got killed by that race soldier Amber Geiger in his apartment. A month later, it was his sister Atiana Jefferson who got killed in the same fashion. See, we just lose track. It's so many brothers and sisters we've lost to this struggle. Yeah, shot in the back. Absolutely. Sean Reed, another brother. It's so many people. So many people. So we want to honor those ancestors because we know the popular white media is not going to do it. We want to honor our ancestors and let our ancestors know that we will avenge their death. See, I'm not one of these Negroes who want to talk about forgiving. This is why the title of my second book was Never Forgive or Forget. We done forgiving. You see what I'm saying? We just want to use the spirit of our ancestors to fuel the revolution. You see what I'm saying? Rest in power to our brother Micah Johnson. A lot of y'all don't remember Micah Johnson. Micah Johnson is the brother who had those shootings in Dallas with those Dallas police officers. That brother said the price of freedom was death. See, the white media, they wouldn't dare honor him. That brother was a patriot. They love to talk about patriotism. I'm honoring the patriots that came before me. Shout out to that brother Micah Johnson and his spirit. It was another brother out there in L.A., Chris Dardner. If y'all remember Chris Dardner. Chris Dardner was fighting that racist LAPD. And he was filing all type of complaints talking about how racist they were. And the brother snapped one day and went off. And he said the price of freedom is death. And they try to vilify him now. No, he is a patriot. See, we got to start throwing that patriotism back in the face of white folks. When white folks do it, when we do something, no, he is a patriot. That's what they love to say about us. This is patriotism. Show respect the troops. That's what I tell white people. Throw it right back in their face. Respect the troops. When one of our black brothers and sisters goes and shoot some of these white supremacists, I like to start talking about PTSD like they do. Every time they shoot us, then they talk about mental health. Well, our brother's mental health he was having issues. And he was a patriot, so respect the patriots. You dig? Respect the patriots that came before you. Gavin Long, another brother down in Louisiana. I remember Gavin Long. A brother down there in Louisiana said the price of freedom is death. See, that's what you got to hit white people with. They love to talk about patriotism. Oh, he was a patriot. Oh, you can't blame this white kid. They start blaming it on the video games. It's the video games. That wasn't a hate crime. It's just the video games. Well, damn it, when we do that and we start killing some of these race soldiers, it's the video games. Or it's the PTSD. What did they do to that brother overseas? It's not him. You see what I'm saying? Keep that same energy with them. Keep that same energy with them. I'm going to start turning into the Black Fox News, where we're going to accept our Fox News is going to speak truth. We're going to say the same thing they say in the opposite direction. In the opposite direction. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so like I said, rest in power to all the fallen troops. Rest in power to them. You say we use yeah, man, we fought in every war. We fought in every war. I had a white supremacist come on my page today talking about, you're talking about this country never fought for blacks. What about the Civil War? I said, what about it? What about it? See, that's a popular myth. White people like to tell the same lie over and over again that they convince themselves that it's truth now. Understand, family. According to the President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln of the time, the Civil War was not about slavery, and we have to keep reminding white folks about this. They love to bring up the Civil War. Oh, we fought for black people just to get them free. Stop. You fought to keep the Union together. Abraham Lincoln, in his letter to Horace Greeley, 1863, said that if he could keep slavery and keep the Union, he would. But since he could not do so, he decided to go with the Union. You see what I'm saying? So we had to free the slaves. He had to free the slaves. The Civil War was not about slavery. It was not in order to free the slaves. Abraham Lincoln was a white supremacist just like the rest of them. Read the works of your ancestors like Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was on his head. Frederick Douglass was on his head. Frederick Douglass said that Abraham Lincoln was becoming a colonization preacher. Because a lot of people don't know what they don't tell you on Fox News. What the Republican Party don't tell you is that after the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln wanted to gather up all the black people in the United States and ship us to South America. He said, all right, nigga, you won the war for us, but now it's time for you to go to South America. And not only did he want to send us to South America, but he wanted to control our resources in South America. We were going to be like an American colony that they had control of in the South Americas. And Frederick Douglass said, man, hell no, this is our country. We were born here. We fought for this country. This is our country. You see, well, shout out to the great ancestor Frederick Douglass. This is Abraham Lincoln. So don't let them pull that whole Civil War thing. Oh, we love black troops. We fought in the Civil Wars to free black people. Stop. Stop. They've never given a damn about black people, family. That's just the fact of the matter. That's just a fact. And in that same Civil War, over 180,000 black soldiers fought and died in the name of this country. That's another thing they don't mention. They act like it was good white people up north and the good white people in the South. Bad white people in the South, and they were fighting each other to free the Negroes. Stop. Stop. You see what I'm saying? The whole Emancipation Proclamation was simply about allowing, the biggest part in that Emancipation Proclamation was about allowing black soldiers to participate in the war. That's what Abraham Lincoln was trying to do. Because remember, they don't talk about this as well. Early in the Civil War, the Union was getting their ass whooped, family. They lost a lot of the major battles early in the Civil War. They lost a lot of those battles. It wasn't until they allowed the Emancipation Proclamation, they allowed black soldiers to fight, it's when they started winning wars. When you had brothers like Robert Smalls, who was stealing Confederate ships, a black brother, stealing Confederate ships and giving away key insight on the Confederate Army and shipping it back to the North. You see what I'm saying? That was one of the main reasons Abraham Lincoln allowed black soldiers to fight. Because Abraham Lincoln had that same racist mindset that, oh, black people can't do anything. It wasn't until he saw brothers like Robert Smalls stealing Confederate ships, he's like, whoa, maybe we need to let the Negroes fight in the war too to help us out. And as a result, we'll throw in their freedom. We'll say, okay, we'll end slavery because the Union is more important. Let's stop playing. Like you said, you had Queen Mother down south, Queen Mother Harriet Tubman, who was a spy, giving away key positions. You see what I'm saying? You had those Buffalo Soldiers who were putting in work. Let's stop playing. Let's stop playing, family. The Union could not have won the war without black soldiers. That war wasn't about us. They didn't care about us. We won the war. We won the war. We freed ourselves. They didn't know good white folks freed us. We freed ourselves. We participated actively in our freedom. You see what I'm saying, family? And then even after the Civil War in 1865, you had things like in Natchez, Mississippi. Natchez, Mississippi, you had things called the Devil Punch Bowl, where they gathered all the newly freed Africans and put them in concentration camps down there in Natchez, Mississippi. They call it the Devil's Punch Bowl. It is estimated as many as 20,000 free Africans were killed in those concentration camps. That was done by the Union. That wasn't the Confederates either. That was done by the Union. The good white folks up north did that. Let's stop playing. So don't let them run this Civil War game on you. Don't let them, you say, I don't know no good white folks. Yeah, don't let them run no Civil War game on you, family. Don't let them run any Civil War. Don't let them run this whole game about honoring the troops. They don't give a damn about black troops. That's why when our brothers like Colin Kaepernick take a knee, you see what I'm saying? I support that. That ain't about no black troops. That's about the system of white supremacy he's taking a knee to. You see what I'm saying? They love to try this whole thing of patriotism. When those same patriots that went over there and fought in all those civil wars to end Holocaust, to help other people gain their freedom across the world, when they came home, they couldn't even get a bite to eat in the same diner as a white person. Had to sit on the back of the bus, were denied housing and loans. Brothers like Henry Johnson, who received a Purple Heart, like I mentioned earlier, died homeless, starving. Get out of here. Don't come to us talking about no patriotism. Black people are the most patriotic people in the United States. We are the most patriotic people by far. What other people you know can be enslaved and then turn around and fight for their slave master, fight and die for them, fight in every war, even though they know they're going to get treated like second-class citizens, will never get the credit for it. Let's stop playing. Let's stop playing. Exactly. Let's stop playing, man. Like I said, they like to play games. They like to play games. So today we honor our troops. We honor our troops. You dig? I'm gonna get to some of the questions. But let me move forward because today the main thing I want to talk about. I kind of got off topic. I started talking about these white supremacists. But today I want to talk about Massa Joe. Want to talk about Massa Joe Biden. Joe Biden, as many of you have already heard, Joe Biden. And one thing about me is I love when white supremacists take their cloth off. I like when the Klan take their mask off. I love that. See, I'm not one that say, "Oh my God, I can't believe he said that." I already know who Joe Biden is. You see what I'm saying? So when they take that wool from over their eyes, I'm glad so my people can see. So Joe Biden got on the Breakfast Club the other day, and he said, if you don't know who you voting for, basically I'm summarizing. He said, if you don't know who you voting for, you ain't black. Joe Biden said you ain't black, basically, if you ain't voting for him. And one thing I want to understand, I want to break down the game for the family. First off, we have to understand the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Republicans, family, are two fangs on the same snake. The Republican and Democrats are two fangs on the same snake. Both fangs are venomous. You see what I'm saying? They're poisonous fangs. But they're two fangs on the same snake, family. There's no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. Their end objective is the same, which is systematic white supremacy. The only thing they differ with how the ways to achieve their goal. So how to implement white supremacy. So the Republicans, they're unapologetic. They want to implement unapologetic white supremacy. They want to be able to call you nigga. That's the Fox Newses of the world. They're just openly racist. And I actually appreciate that. Because to me, that is the most obvious racism, and we understand how to deal with that. The Democrats they're passive aggressive racists. Meaning they say the right things. They don't mind coming to shows like the Breakfast Club. Notice you don't see no Republicans on the Breakfast Club. They don't care about the black vote. They say, I don't care if the black folks vote for the Democrats. You see what I'm saying? The Democrats, however, they'll do things like they'll go on the Breakfast Club. If you don't remember, Hillary Clinton back in 2016, she went on the Breakfast Club and she started pandering. She started pulling out bottles of hot sauce because that's supposed to be symbolic to black people. And a lot of Negroes fell for that. They said, Hillary, what do you have in your purse? Oh, I have some hot sauce. And they like that's a black agenda now because she pulled out some hot sauce. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with Joe Biden. Notice, I like to study these white supremacists. Notice, go back and look at the Joe Biden interview he just did on the Breakfast Club. Notice how their attitude changed, their speech changed. Just, come on, man. You feel me? Huh? It's just Ebonic now. I got to talk in this different language, and I find that very disrespectful, but I understand. They know what the game is. You see what I'm saying? It's so, come on, man. You feel me? Huh? They said, Joe, what do you think about a black agenda, Joe? A black agenda? Look at my track record, man. I was the only white employee at a black swimming pool. Come on now. It doesn't get any more black than me. But that's the symbolism that they pull. It's pandering. Symbolic nature. You see what I'm saying? That's what the Democrats do. If you remember even going back to the 90s, Bill Clinton used to go on Arsenio Hall. You had Negroes in the 90s talking about Bill Clinton was the first black president because he was playing the saxophone. You see what I'm saying? They like to pander. Republicans don't pander. Republicans are unapologetically racist. We know where the Republicans stand. The Democrats try to give you the illusion that they're for you. So they don't mind, like I said, going on the Breakfast Club. They don't mind, pulling out a bottle of hot sauce. They'll meet with Cardi B. They'll meet with Diddy. They'll meet with all these Negroes. But they won't do anything for the Negro society. That's who the Democrats are. You see what I'm saying? That's who the Democrats are. And so when Joe Biden, he got out of character. That's why his party started backpedaling so fast. Because the Democrats ain't supposed to say stuff like that. That's some Republican stuff. That's some of that Donald Trump. Black people, what do you have to lose? Just vote for me. I'm not going to give you nothing, but just vote for me. You see what I'm saying? He got out of character, and I like that because a lot of people saw Joe Biden for what he truly is, which is a white supremacist just like the rest of them. A guy with racist attitudes just like the rest of them. He's talking about, look at my track record. Joe Biden, your track record is the 94 crime bill. A bill that he still is trying to hold on to and act like it was some good for the black community. You see what I'm saying? That's a bill he's still trying to hold on to and act like, well, it really wasn't that bad. Technically, the crime rate went down. And if you look at it, unemployment went down as well. Joe, unemployment went down because a lot of people don't know. Family, when they lock up our black brothers and sisters in jail, they don't count them as needing a job. They don't count them as needing a job. All the people who needed a job, you threw them in jail. That don't mean you did something about unemployment. You just threw the people who really needed a job in jail. So all the homeless people, you threw them in jail. And they've been doing that since the beginning of times. Remember, family, during the early 1900s, they had the convict leasing program. In states like Kentucky, you can get arrested for being homeless in the early 1900s. If they saw black people who were homeless, they would arrest them. There was a brother, and I mentioned this in Voice of the Ancestors Volume 2. This is why everybody has to go get my book right now, link in the bio. In Kentucky, you had brothers and sisters in the early 1900s locked up for stealing a pig for 20 years. They were serving 20 years. They were putting them in chain gangs. Chain gangs. Those same chain gangs, they still have them in states like Louisiana right now. Angola prison. They still got brothers in chain gang working for 16 cents a day. So the brothers who really need to be employed, they lock them up. You see what I'm saying? Then they say, look at what we did to the unemployment rate. You see what I'm saying? And Joe was trying to pass this crime bill off like it was something good. Stop. Stop. If you don't remember a couple years ago, 2016, do y'all remember the drug crisis in 2016 with the white community? All those meth heads out there in West Virginia? All those meth heads out there in West Virginia who were overdosing? They didn't talk about passing no crime bill up there and locking them up. They started talking about rehab. Well, what we need to do is we need to bring back the coal mines. And we need to bring back the factory jobs. See, when white people start overdose, because remember, white people are bigger drug users than black. Remember that. And they use hardcore drugs. They use the meth. That's why if you look at shows like Tiger King, that is a large part of white America. If you look at them shows like on Netflix, like Tiger King, we got all the white supremacists with 2 teeth in their mouth. That's a large part of white America. Those people are never touched. They never get touched. They never talk about passing no crime bill to target them and to get all this meth out their community. You see what I'm saying? They talk about rehabilitation. And we need to give more employment opportunities. We need to open back up the factories. Yeah, 2016, they kept that real quiet. Out there in West Virginia, remember, you had those opioids. Opioids was another one. Where white people were overdosing off opioids in West Virginia. Yeah, they were overdosing like crazy in West Virginia. And all the Republicans and the white Democrats, they started talking about, we need to bring back jobs. Nobody talked about locking folks up. Because any economist understands this. And I went to college. I graduated from Jacksonville State University with a bachelor's degree in economics. I understand about the economy. Family, it's plain and simple. When you have a high amount of jobs, when you have employment opportunity, when people have access to capital, the crime rate goes down. It's no secret. When they don't have access to capital, when they don't have jobs, the crime rate goes up. It ain't about black people are just naturally more violent. Everybody knows this. The crime rate goes down when you start employing black people, when they have jobs, when they have access to capital. You see what I'm saying? Let's stop playing. So Joe likes to play that whole game. Look at my track record. His track record, family, is the 94 crime bill. His track record, Joe is on TV back in the early 90s and 80s talking about his state as a slave state. Bragging about it. You see what I'm saying? He's on there talking about some damn I marched with Dr. King, which is a lie. First of all, even if you did march with Dr. King, because Bernie Sanders loved to use that excuse. We said, Bernie, what about the black agenda? Nigga, don't you know I marched with Dr. King? That's his whole thing. That's his whole thing. I marched with Dr. King. They love to bring up Dr. King. I'm going to start asking who was supporting Malcolm. Was you supporting Malcolm X? We got more ancestors than Dr. King. No disrespect to the great ancestor Dr. King. I love Dr. King. Was you supporting Malcolm X? That's what we need to start asking. Was you supporting Malcolm X? You see? Was you supporting the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Stop saying Dr. King. And none of them went up there supporting Dr. King, by the way. Remember, Dr. King at the time of his death, he had like a 75 disapproval rating among white people. Dr. King was not loved until well after his death. They hated Dr. King. Dr. King had like a 75% disapproval rating among white people. They weren't supporting Dr. King. They looked at like, oh, all these white people, they were down in Selma. They were marching. They were marching side by side with the Negroes. Yes, the good Negroes of the South. We were marching side by side with them. Stop. Stop. You were watching on TV. You were complaining and crying on TV. And they love to pull this game. They love to pull this game. You see what I'm saying? They're going to do the same thing with our leaders and revolutionaries now. I'm telling you right now, family, in let me see, in 30, 40 years, they're going to say they love Colin Kaepernick. Oh, God, Colin Kaepernick, he was a genius. He stood up for what's right. I love Colin Kaepernick. Do the right thing like Colin would do. Just remember all the energy they're keeping for our brother now. How he's still unemployed. You see what I'm saying? They hated Ali. That's another one. They hated Ali when he was alive. They hated Ali. They didn't start liking Ali until he got old and got Parkinson's and started breaking down and getting crippled and couldn't speak anymore. That's when they started liking Ali. You see what I'm saying? That's when they try to come back and get the con games now. Now everybody want to bring up people like Dr. King and what they were doing with Dr. King. And none of them were doing nothing. Nothing. You see what I'm saying? They weren't doing anything. And they understand this. This is why when Joe made that comment, and that's another thing we got to address. We got to address these Negroes who come out here and start throwing on their cape for these Democrats. Big Simone Sanders, big linebacker ass up there talking about some, let me tell you now. And they like to get, like I said, the Democrats love to pander to black society. They don't want to pass any initiatives. But they love to pander to black society. They love to talk about some, they like to, oh, well, we're going to get a black woman as vice president. What's that doing for the black community? That's not a tangible item. Obama was black. We still getting killed. We still ain't have no access to capital. You see what I'm saying? They love to, that's tangible. That's intangible, family. And you got her, she come out here, Simone Sanders, talking about some, what Joe meant to say, aka what Massa meant to say was, look at his track record. Look what his track record. Then why didn't he say that, Simone? Then why didn't he say that? See, they like to play games, family. And we got to start calling them out on that. We ain't playing no more games. You see what I'm saying? The initiative, the agenda is reparations. That's the agenda. See, family, we have to understand in the black community, we can't allow our oppressors to choose what our agenda is going to be. Because Joe Biden, he posted something the other day talking about some, what I'm going to do for black people, I'm going to lower the incarceration rate. The same stuff they always talk about. I'm going to lower the incarceration rate. I'm going to close the wealth gap. Joe, you're highlighting the problems. You're not telling us the solutions, what you're going to do specifically for us. How are you going to do this, Joe? Don't tell us what the problems are. We live the problems. We live the problems. We know what the problems are. How are you going to solve it? And what's up with our reparations check? You want to close that wealth gap? We need that check. You see what I'm saying? We need that check. Because, see, the coronavirus has exposed the truth and has called their bluff. The United States has money, family. You see, when this coronavirus hit, Congress started passing $1 trillion bills because their favorite excuse for us is, we don't have any reparations money. Where would the money come from? Oh, my God. Soon as Corona hit, it's $1 trillion checks everywhere. Oh, we'll have it in your bank account within the next 2 weeks. Direct deposit. We'll send a check through the mail. Do the same thing for us. Keep that same energy. You dig? Keep that same energy for us. We need our check, and we need it on time. If we don't get no check, you don't get no vote. I'm like Buddy in ATL When girl was trying to get that skate, no tickets, no skate. That's how it is. No reparation, no vote. That's how it is, family. And it's got to be like that. And we got to stay firm on that. We got to stay firm on that. You dig? Yeah, let me get to some questions real quick, family. I see a lot of people been asking a lot of questions. Let me get to some questions real quick. When I get to going, I just like to flow. Let me answer some questions real quick. You said we have to stop black from being the oppressors. We are the biggest oppressors. Who are the biggest? Black people, we're the biggest oppressors? Who is that, Queen Ty? We are the biggest oppressors? Let me read some more. Hold on. Absolutely, yeah. And like I say, that brother brought up a great point. He talked about generational wealth. Family, and it's another thing I want to clear. Reparations is not a handout. Reparation is what is owed to us. You see what I'm saying? If you go work at your job for 2 weeks and it comes time to get your check, and somebody say, why are you looking for a handout? You said it's not a handout. I just worked these last 2 weeks. I need my check. Same thing. Our descendants, we as descendants of enslaved African people, are saying our ancestors worked for free for 400 years. You see what I'm saying? We need our check now. We need our check plus interest, by the way. We need our check plus interest. That's not a handout. We are getting what we are owed. We are getting what we are owed, and this is demand. This is not something we can reach a compromise on. This is the demand. You see what I'm saying? And we're willing to get it by any means necessary. Don't come to the black community talking about vote for this person, vote for that person, because, hey man, we got to vote for Joe Biden because Donald Trump ain't going to do nothing for us. Neither is Joe Biden. I'm not voting for the best of two slave masters, family. I refuse to do it. And none of us should have that mindset. Imagine if Nat Turner said, man, it's time. We got to revolt, man. We got to get off this plantation. They said, why? Because we got to go to another plantation. We want a better slave master. We don't want off the plantation. We want a better slave master. Imagine if Harriet Tubman was kidnapping slaves and taking them to a better plantation. That's what we be doing as black people. Well, I'm going to vote for Joe because Joe's a better slave master than Trump. Harriet Tubman did not kidnap thousands of slaves, go back for dozens of trips so Negroes can go to a better plantation. Let's stop playing. Let's stop playing, man. The black vote ain't free. It ain't free. This is our agenda. This is what we want. This is what we demand. We starting with reparations. We start with reparations. Because reparations equals power. When we get that money in the black community, we get that power. You see what I'm saying? We can handle all the other stuff really once that check start coming. You want to close the wealth gap? That check. You see what I'm saying? Mass incarceration, that check. Because mass incarceration, that's just about unequal opportunities. You locking up the poor. You don't see Chinese people getting locked up like that. You see what I'm saying? You don't see other groups of people, the Jewish community, getting locked up like that. Why? Because they own the police. They got their own police in their own community. They play powernomics, as the great elder Dr. Claude Anderson talks about. They play powernomics. You dig? Somebody said, let me see. King went to the south, one of the churches and everything. Burned down the church. Yeah, you said when Martin Luther King went to the South and visited one of the churches and everything to burn down the churches one of Martin Luther King was in, the Martin Luther King called JFK brother to stop the burn. JFK was not a friend either of black society. JFK was not a friend either of black society. JFK, we got to be clear because again, I got to give y'all some black history, not the whitewash version. JFK, he only sent in the troops down there to Alabama because black people were turning up. Remember, you have something, I talked about this in my last live, you have something called the Birmingham riots. The Birmingham riots, look up the Birmingham riots. Black people were fed up in the South. They had blown up the little girls. We had been dealing with, years, Emmett Till, all that. We had been dealing with all that for generation to generation. They were tired. And they started firebombing white businesses, burning down white businesses. That's when JFK sent in the troops. JFK wasn't doing nothing like the rest of them presidents. He was forced because he didn't want a full-blown Civil War race riot down there in Birmingham. He didn't want that. You see what I'm saying? He did not want that at all. So that's why he had to go in there and send in the troops. And a lot of brothers forget, Brothers and sisters forget. A lot of our ancestors were good with the gun. Because remember, we were fighting in those wars too. So we had veterans. This is why places like you had the Newark riots, you had the long hot summer of 1967 down there in Detroit. 1967, the Detroit riots, the Newark riots, where you had brothers and sisters who coming home from the Vietnam War sniping police officers from the roof. We were surgical with our guns back then. We were very surgical with our guns. You see what I'm saying? So you had a lot of brothers and sisters who were turning up. That forced JFK's hand. That forced him to sit in the dogs. You see what I'm saying? To send in the troops, excuse me. That's what forced his hand. Like I said, it's always been the threat of violence that creates change. Always been the threat of violence. Let me go to another question. Yeah, I got you. Somebody said, yeah, I got you on my DM, MJ. I got you on the DM when I get off of here. Oh, yeah. Money, whenever white people are dealing with something, family, money pops up through the air. They ain't got no money when it comes for us. When we say, hey, black people, we need our reparations in the trillions. Oh, where do you think we're going to get that money from? We don't have that money. Coronavirus hit. Chinese folks are suffering. White businesses are suffering. They start printing off monies. I mean, just by the loads. They hit that direct deposit fast. They get initiative fast. And this is why I say we're not falling for the con games. Don't let what's going on now with the coronavirus and everything else distract you from our agenda at hand. And that is reparations, family. That is reparations for foundational black Americans. The original, as Dr. Claude Anderson says, the original minority. Because they like to use this minority word, and then they say, oh, we're going to do this for minorities, and then they give it to white Hispanics. They give it to the Latino community. They give it to the Chinese community, the Arab community, white women. Remember, white women are considered minorities. They're considered minorities. Don't fall for that minority word. We're not falling for any con games anymore. Any con games. I'm going to allow you to do your research. Somebody said, what is the 1994 crime bill? I'm going to allow you to do your research on that. Not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm serious because you need to know that. You need to know that. We need to know everything these white supremacists have done to us. I want you to go research that for yourself. That's your homework. You got to know what that 94 crime bill is because we still got brothers and sisters in jail right now for that 94 crime bill. You see what I'm saying? Who are suffering under that. And what we don't understand, too, about these crime bills is that ruins generation after generation. You're taking black fathers out the home. Now the black man or the young black boy has to raise himself. He follows in that same cycle because he has no father guidance. You see what I'm saying? This is generation after generation. Question. Why give, somebody said question. Shout out to Cuddy Cole. Why give energy to a white supremacist such as Joe and Bernie instead of using the energy to speak on black people running from press? Well, first of all, I don't give a damn who, and I'm not saying this in a bad way towards you. You said, why not give that energy to a black person running for president? I don't care who runs for president if you don't have a black agenda. If you don't have a black agenda. You see what I'm saying? It's not about, if Joe Biden was a black person, I don't care if he's black, white, whoever comes with the tangibles, that's who gets the vote. See, we're not on symbolism no more, family. We're not on symbolism no more. Also, I'm speaking to the black family. See, giving your energy to white supremacists is when you're trying to convince a room full of white supremacists what they're doing is bad. That's giving your energy to them. I'm talking to the black family right here. I'm educating my brothers and sisters so they get to know the games they're playing. You see what I'm saying, family? I'm not giving energy to white supremacists. I'm educating my brothers and sisters on the game so we don't fall for that. Giving your energy to them is trying to go up on Fox News and trying to convince Tucker Carlson that what he's saying is wrong. That's giving your energy. You see what I'm saying? I'm educating right now. That's all it's about. This is about educating. You see what I'm saying? We have to know where we went wrong, family. We have to know where we went wrong. We have to know the con games that they try to pull on us. Remember, this is warfare. In warfare, you have to study the previous wars that came before you. You have to know your enemy like you know thyself. Everybody talks about having knowledge of self. You need to also have knowledge of enemy. How does he move? You see what I'm saying? The reason why I know these things about Joe Biden is because I've seen the white supremacists that came before Joe Biden and I studied them. You see what I'm saying? I studied the racism within the Democratic Party. You had people like Woodrow Woodson who were playing Birth of a Nation, a Klan movie in the White House in the early 1900s. This is a cycle. History always repeats itself. These folks ain't changed. The names just change. The names just change. That's it, family. So we have to study. We have to study. Absolutely. Stop marching. Please stop marching. Please stop marching. You see what I'm saying? No, I take that back. March if you want to march. I'm not going to march. But march if you want to march. Because everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a role to play. I would wish you not march. I would wish marching is not the end goal. Because that's our biggest threat. That's how we threaten. We call ourselves threatening white society. We're going to have a march. We're going to march to your building. You see what I'm saying? White people march to people's house with guns. That's their marching. That's their version of marching. Harm a white child. Harm a white woman. They show up on your doorstep with guns. They put your address all on 4chan and all these racist white supremacist sites, and then they show up to your house with guns. That's their version of marching. You see what I'm saying? That's their version. Absolutely. I'm all for the reparations of all African descendants in foreign countries, but in the United States, I'm dealing specifically with foundational Black Americans. I'm dealing specifically with foundational Black Americans, because what they do is if you start saying we're going to give reparations to African immigrants as well, then you have these white Latinos who've been denying their black side their whole life. They'll be popping up getting reparations money. They've been classifying as white. We'll have it'll be an increase of 25-30% of black people in this country. Give out reparations. And allow them to get it to immigrants and stuff. Every Latino who been denying a black grandma their whole life be talking about, well, I'm African on my grandma's side. They'll pick up the Ebonics and everything. You see what I'm saying, family? Absolutely, the Holocaust survivors did get paid. And this is why we need our check. This is why we need our check. Hold on one second, family. This is why we need our check. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing about the Holocaust, like I said, we have to understand the game and understand the history of what came before us. Remember, the Holocaust wasn't even the first Holocaust. The German Holocaust was like the third Holocaust. The first Holocaust was on black people by Nazi Germany. We got to remember that. The first people to die in the Holocaust were black people. They never talk about that. They just talk about the white Jews who died. And they gave the white Jews the money. The first victims of the Holocaust, the first victims of Nazi Germany were black people. Down there in Namibia, in Africa, South Africa, Namibia. You see what I'm saying? Down there on an island called Shark Island. Look this up. Nazi Germany was experimenting on African people. This was in the early 1900s. This was 40, 50 years before any European Jew was killed. You see what I'm saying? There was no cry. There was no cry out from Western nations talking about, look what they're doing to African people. That's a fact. They don't tell you about what happened down there in Namibia. That was the first Holocaust by Nazi Germany. They were experimenting on black first before they did it to any European. We got to remember that. Yet, when you say Holocaust, white Jews act like they have a copyright claim on the word Holocaust. If you say, hey man, ours is like what happened in Germany. Oh, you can't say that. You see what I'm saying? They were experimenting on us first. There was a second one. Not by the Nazi party, but by their big brothers. The Italian fascists under Mussolini in Ethiopia, where they were exterminating the Falashas, the Ethiopian Jews. That was 6 years before the Jewish-German Holocaust. Let's be clear on this, man. We got to know our history. We got to know our history. So they were doing all that stuff on us first. We were the test dummies. We were the lab rats to them before they carried out that behavior. And then when it happened to European white Jews, because I don't even like acting like white people and Jews are something different. These are white people. Jewish people are white people, the ones that they claim to be Jewish. You see what I'm saying? They're white folks. They try to act like Jewish is a religion. Jewish is a race. It's a religion, family. You choose to be Jewish. You see what I'm saying? Don't let them fool you with that. You choose to be Jewish. A Jewish person can pop up right now and just move to another state and say, hey, I'm Muslim. That's all he got to do. You see what I'm saying? But the first Holocaust, to my point, happened on us, and we got to remember that. But like I say, when it happens to us, it goes under the rug. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cries about it. Nobody goes to war about it. But when it happens to white folks, now it's the worst thing that was, nobody could imagine such a thing. We have to give them trillions of dollars. We have to create their own land to recover from this horrific event. But when it happens to black people, no cry, no tears. I can name 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 Holocausts that were worse than the Jewish-German Holocaust right now. You see what I'm saying? Because we have to remember that no matter where you go in the world, whether you go to Europe, the first Europeans were the Grimaldis. The first Britons were black people, Cheddar Man. You see what I'm saying? The first Asians were the Jawa people. Those Africans like the Jawa people over in there in Asia. The first Americans were African people, the Olmec people, the Mayan people. You can look at those Bonaparte murals down there in Central America where you see the jet black people depicted on the wall. The first Australians were black African people, the Aborigine as they call them. You see what I'm saying? So no matter where you go, there was African people first. And those African people didn't walk up and leave when Europeans came. They were assassinated. They were taken out. They were damn near wiped off the face of the earth. It was an island off the coast of Tasmania. The island off the coast of Australia called Tasmania, where every single African person was wiped out. 5 million. That's a complete Holocaust. See, they can live to tell their Holocaust story. We can't even live. We got brothers and sisters who couldn't even live to tell their Holocaust story. You see what I'm saying? In Australia, I know a queen said she was from Australia earlier. She know what I'm talking about. She know what I'm talking about. That's why I don't waste no tears over what's happening in white society. Oh man, that's horrible. Listen, I ain't got time for that. Because my brothers and sisters been dealing with 10 times that. You see what I'm saying? This is why I'm worried about black people. Black people, that's it. I'm politically, economically selfish. I'm worried about my people. Because whatever other people have went through, they haven't went through what we went through. You see what I'm saying, family? Absolutely. We built America. That's right. We built America without question. Without question. And that's another reason why we need our reparations. We have to remember, family, schools like Yale, schools like Brown, schools like Harvard, these Ivy League schools were created from enslaved African labor. These schools were built by African people. Wall Street, our economic financial institutions that we deem so high today. Wall Street, the first stocks and bonds were enslaved Africans because we were considered property. We have to remember that, family. You have cities like New Orleans, cities like Charleston, South Carolina, cities like Savannah here in Georgia. What's another city? Cities like Baltimore, Philly, really Philadelphia, was built on the enslaved labor of African people. You see what I'm saying? That was built by African people. These were notorious slave port cities. We built this country. We laid down the original railroads. It was African people who discovered many of these cities and were building some of the economic foundations of these cities. Like in L.A., you had a black woman by the name of Biddy Mason who was laying down the foundations of L.A., was one of the first millionaires in L.A. You see what I'm saying? You had a brother, John Baptiste du Sable, that founded the city of Chicago. But they don't talk about this. We built America. America's ours. It didn't come from no immigrants. It came from enslaved African labor. You see what I'm saying? The African people. In fact, the reason why the biggest and the best purchase in United States history was the Louisiana Purchase. How did they get that? They got that from the 1804 Haitian Revolution. When the Haitians gave the French that work, the French were forced to sell the Louisiana Purchase, that Louisiana area. They had to sell it for dirt cheap. That was the greatest purchase in United States history. All because some Africans on a small island of Haiti gave the French that work and forced them to sell to America. African people built America. Let's stop playing. Let's stop playing. And they want to talk about the North. Oh, well, the North didn't have this. The North didn't have that. Family. The South was picking. Oh, 1 second, family. The South was picking. Enslaved African people were picking the cotton in the South. The North was processing it. The textile mills for these cotton plants. And we talk about this in my book, Voice of the Ancestors, Volume 2, if you want more details, because I'm just going off the dome right now. So if you want sources, because we have over 180 sources in the back of the book, we come in with receipts. You see what I'm saying? The North was the processing mill. They had over 1,000 textile mills in the North to process the cotton, to make the clothes. 80% of the world's cotton, I believe, at the time of 1865, was produced in the United States. We created a global economy for the United States. African people, without African people, there would be no United States. Remember, I want you to look up Jamestown, Virginia. Jamestown, Virginia, you had something because the first quote-unquote pilgrims came to Jamestown, 1619. You see what I'm saying? Not 1619, but damn, I forgot the damn date. But anyway, they came to Jamestown, Virginia. You see what I'm saying? But you had something called the Jamestown Starving Times in the early 1600s. The Jamestown Starving Times. I want y'all to look that up, family. Where you had these white pilgrims who starved to death because they couldn't grow anything. These white folks, they couldn't grow anything. They couldn't farm. They didn't know how to survive. So they went to go get the Africans. Remember, they were real strategic about where they got African people. A lot of people just think they were going to Africa and just getting random people. No, they got certain people who knew how to cultivate land. They knew to avoid certain people. They said, listen, don't get them Negroes from Benin. Those are warriors. Watch those Akan people. You see what I'm saying? Watch those Igbo people. Those Igbo people are very suicidal. They would rather jump off the ship than to be enslaved. They knew their Negroes, like they know their Negroes today. So they would get certain African people who were good at cultivating land, good at rice, good at growing cabbage, tomatoes. This was big business, family, and we keep downplaying it. We keep acting like, oh, it was just they were just enslaving, we were just picking cotton. No, we were growing tobacco, cabbage, tomatoes, everything. Everything, family. You see what I'm saying? We were building schools. It was a brother, Benjamin Banneker, who laid out the map for Washington, D.C. We were geniuses. These folks couldn't do anything. Remember, the Americans, the white Americans that you see in the early 14, 15, 1600s, these are the worst of the worst that Europe had to offer. Remember, Europe released their prisoners and allowed them to come to America. This was the worst of the worst they had to offer. You see what I'm saying? The worst of the worst. These weren't people who were geniuses. They didn't come over here building their own stuff. We built that. They needed somebody else to do that. And that's always been Europeans' case. That's just not white Europeans in America. That's white Europeans over in Europe. Remember, without the Moors showed them how to break down meals into courses. You eat your appetizer, your dinner, then you eat your dessert. You have to have a salad to balance out your diet. A brother by the name of Zipporah the Moor called him the black bird. He was the one breaking down the sciences. We're the one showed them botany, the study of plants, how to grow these plants. Okay, your soil in Europe is better for growing potatoes. This is what an Irish potato. We showed them all that. You see what I'm saying? We built their first colleges. At the time before black Africans came over there, 99% of Europe was illiterate. We've always given them the game, family. We did the same here in America. And we were the inspiration behind the Americas and things of that nature. We were already here, and then we built it for them. Let's be clear on that. White folks ain't built nothing in America. The only thing the white man invented was the patent office to steal somebody's inventions. That's the only thing he invented. He invented the patent office. They didn't invent nothing. And even the things that they actually invented off their intellect, it was by default, meaning black people weren't allowed to go to school. We weren't allowed to claim inventions, so we couldn't claim it. He had no competition. It's like playing in a football game and you don't have nobody on the other side, so you just catching passes all over the place. They had no opposition. It was no competition. So damn right you're gonna be the inventor for a lot of things. You see what I'm saying, family? But these are facts. This is why we need that check. This is why we need that check. Not to mention we fought in every war, like I said before. This is why we need that check. Absolutely. Absolutely. You said, how will we determine who gets reparations specifically? Reparations goes to foundational black Americans. That's simple. The first census we were able to sign was the 1870 census. All you have to do is to track your way. Like I can go back and see that my ancestor, my great 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 grandfather, John McGee, signed the 1870 census in Starville, Mississippi. He was an American descendant of slavery. That proves that I'm a foundational black American. You see what I'm saying? It's not hard, family. It's not hard. White people can trace their folks back to the 1400s in Europe and what street. You see what I'm saying? They know who foundational black Americans are. So all you have to do is go back to the 1870 census. This was the first census that enslaved African people, or the newly enslaved, the newly freed African people were able to sign. So if you can trace your lineage back to the 1870 census, you're a foundational black American. That's just plain and simple right there. Don't let white people make it so complicated, because that's their big thing. They like to make things like it's complicated. It's not. 1870 census. And you can find that on sites like Ancestry.com. They have a great record keeping process. So go back to the 1870 census. I was able to find mine, Starville, Mississippi. You see what I'm saying? We know that. And actually, I was one of the fortunate ones. My grandfather, and this is why I believe that revolutionaries or revolution runs in the veins. My grandfather was a Grand Master Mason down there in Starville, Mississippi, 1870s. You see what I'm saying? He was a powerful brother in his own right. So it's not by any coincidence I speak like I speak. He was a revolutionary of his time. So this is DNA based, and we still own that land. And it is believed that, because we don't talk about a lot of the land that was stolen, it is believed that my family owns a lot of land outside of the University of Mississippi State. We believe we owned a lot of that land on Mississippi State University's campus. But it was taken from us through the Klan, through different things of that nature. It was sabotaged. But we still own a lot of that land right there that is actually on the record books. But we believe we owned a lot more. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, 1870 census. Let me get to some more questions, family. I'm sorry if I'm missing your questions, family. Just, try to put it back below. Try to put it back below. Let me see. Let me get to some more questions. Don't you get it if they give us revelations? They will have none. Oh yeah. White people. That's why I be laughing, man. White folks, they love to talk about. Oh, y'all looking for a handout? White people are the king of handouts. Nigga, they are the kings and queens of handouts. The Homestead Act, handout. Slavery, handout. You ain't doing no work. You ain't doing no work. Remember, they gave, in states like South Carolina, family, in the late 1600s, I believe it was 1662. In states like South Carolina, they would give white people 20 acres of free land if they had a black slave. If you had one black slave, they gave you 20 acres of free land. Have it, cultivate it, do what you want with it. You see what I'm saying? Out west, if you just moved out west, during that time they were exploring out west and things like that. If you just moved out west, they would give you 50 acres of land. They are the king of handouts, the king and queens of handouts, family. Don't let them try that handout game on us. Don't let them try that. Hold on, family. I'm going to end the video. I got 20 seconds left on the video. Instagram be having you on a timer. I'm going to end the video and come right back on. See y'all. Hold on.